Coming to you from...
What is this room? Hey, wait. We had a room? Who the heck is this guy?
You can't be back here. This is a restricted area.
What? Who are you? Where'd this guy come from?
I'm calling the cops.
Ooh, this is where they do our intros. Ooh.
Oh.
We have the intro.
I'm gonna do the intro.
No. I'm doing it. This is my intro.
Get out of the way, James.
This is my intro.
This is my intro. I'm gonna do this. Move.
I do good intros.
Get out of the way, James.
Oh.
This is Kim.
Okay, guys.
Why is it called?
Hello, Star.
Stop.
What the hell is that? Oh my god. Is this room haunted?
Oh.
Never mind.
Lord.
I'm out.
Girls
I'm leaving.
Guys,
Nope,
calm down.
I don't
Find the
Oh.
little girl. Run her son.
Boy. Okay, we lost him. All right. Coming to you from a pirate ship in the Caribbean. This is Little Podcast of Horrors.
What, James?
And Christina.
And Chris. No ghost girls.
Awesome. Welcome to Little Podcast of Horrors, everybody.
It's the season finale.
Oh, yes. 20 episodes strong.
Will Jeffrey and Sheila finally tie the knot? Will Felix wake up from his coma?
I think James is here too. So welcome in, James.
I think I am.
It's good.
Dude. I think I'll take part today.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
Welcome.
James.
Welcome.
James is going to be the host of our
With the
finale. Host with the most. And as always, I am Chris.
I'm Christina.
He's James. All right, start it. Go.
Fuck.
So for our season finale, all of my episodes have been more or less leading up to this one. So, especially, we talked about
All
the world
roads
ending.
lead to one place.
That's
right here.
That's right. So we talked about the world ending in 2012,
Which
and
was
that
depressing.
segued into the Philadelphia experiments,
Which was also depressing. Those poor sailors.
who are probably shadow people.
Damn shadow.
So, especially in that last episode, I was talking about dropping some hints that there were other topics that I could go on about in a future episode. This is that future episode.
You're here, guys. This is it. It's what we've been waiting for.
So this is going to tie everything together and also make it more confusing. And also just buckle in because this is going to be a ride. So.
Click.
It's gonna be.
That's me buckling in.
Yep. It's gonna be all tied up in a confusing bow of we don't even know where this is going. We don't even know where this is going because I can't talk today.
Right. So I mentioned in both of those other episodes, the Montauk Project, which is going to be the topic of today's episode.
Woo!
Yay.
So, as I also mentioned with the Philadelphia experiments, the challenge with that story, and now more so this one, is you have multiple people with multiple versions of the story, and continuity is really kind of optional.
A key to a good story.
The key to
Yes,
a good story
story.
is nothing makes fucking sense.
So I am going to try my darndest to string a cohesive narrative that starts from one point and goes to another, but there's just going to be some stuff here that you're going to be raising eyebrows at. Okay, just telling you up front. So before we get into that, what are we drinking today?
Ooh, baby, drinking that H2O again. Real slow.
She likes to let that H2O dribble down the back of her throat and nourish her body, giving her energy and focus. Oh, yeah.
Sexy.
What are you
Well-
guys drinking?
I'm drinking a again from Martin House. It's a special release called Acheron. It is a whiskey barrel aged stout. So they took
Ooh.
like 6 different types of what you call them of malts, 6 different kinds of malts,
Mhm.
aged them in some whiskey barrels, and this magic came out.
Yum.
That's what they said
But
when I was born. Well-
You were aged in whiskey barrels before you were born.
No, they just said, and then magic came out. Ta-da!
Yum.
Yeah, most
Whiskey barrels.
most babies
It
cry.
explains so much.
Most babies cry when they come out. I just go, ta-da! Magic.
That's about right. That checks out.
I am drinking Bullet bourbon mixed with Coca-Cola.
Mm.
Because I'm a sugar fiend, and I mean, this is my first drink today, and I bought this Friday. I didn't drink yesterday.
Oh.
I like Bullet. You know, it's a weird thing too. I don't
Well,
know.
you're gonna need some bullet for
Oh,
the
no.
next
Yeah.
You know, it's weird too. When I've had way too much to drink, I start cleaning. So Saturday morning, you know, we woke up and Katie's like, "Did you clean the house while everybody was asleep?" Yes. When did you come to bed? 4 a.m.
Wow. She's like,
kinda like
here,
drunken
have some more
boxing.
drinks.
But she came.
Kind of like
She
drunken boxing, except it's drunken cleaning.
yes, drunk cleaning. She woke
You're the
up. I
drunken
mean,
butler master.
I know, right? It's like the living room was pristine. I had every dish clean. I
Like when
actually.
he's plastered, he just puts on a tux and takes on an English accent.
That's fine. I don't even need to drink to do that. I'll just be like, "Hello there. Yes, Master James. Would you like a nice cup of tea? Would you like some brandy? Anyway, today we're going to be talking about really weird fucking things. Take it away, my good friend."
Yeah, so the Montauk Project. Okay, so unlike the Philadelphia experiments,
There will not be sailors merged into the walls with the story.
well, no promises, but
What?
unlike the Montauk Project, the Philadelphia experiment is a well-known story, at least among people who are into spooky crap.
Mhm.
The Montauk Project is a lesser-known story, so this will be a fun one to explore. It's not as famous as the Philadelphia experiment. And I'm pulling from
What's interesting is Stranger Things.
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay,
get to
sorry.
So I'm pulling from 2 sources today. One is an article by All That's Interesting, entitled "Inside the Montauk Project: The U.S. Military's Alleged Mind Control Program" by Marco Margaritov, whose name I still can't pronounce. And yes, it is the same source I mentioned in the Philadelphia experiment because it covers
Okay.
both. But the main source I'm pulling from is actually a book entitled "The Montauk Project: Experiments in Time" by Preston B. Nichols, who we'll be talking about a lot today.
Ooh.
So given the breadth of this topic, I didn't want to just hit a couple of articles out there and regurgitate them. So I read the whole damn book. So we're going to be talking straight from the source on this one.
So you didn't want to regurgitate books. Got it. Just go.
Right, because
Oh, look. That's where that went.
So, and as a bonus, my copy of this book that I got my hands on has annotations on it
Nice.
by the person who shared it online, which is an internet user by the name of Stealth Skater. That will be relevant in a bit because the notes added to this book just make it all the more spicier.
How'd you get a book with their annotations in it? Like, are they handwritten or officially
No, 'cause it's
print
the
this way?
internet, but no, I went to some corners of the internet this time to get you some gold.
I'm just caught up on the name Stealth Skater. Is that like when you're walking down the sidewalk and everything's quiet, and then all of a sudden Skater just goes past you, you never heard them, and then you're just like, Stealth Skater. I didn't even hear that guy.
Yes. I mean, a normal skater wouldn't do for this kind of stuff because you'd hear him coming a mile away.
He was a skater boy. He said, "See you later, boy." We didn't hear him coming at all.
So now there have been, despite this being a lesser known story, nonetheless, a number of productions have covered this topic before. So what makes my telling of it different is I have no idea what I'm talking about.
He said the quiet parts out
Perfect.
loud.
Yeah.
That's okay. None of us did.
Also, usually this is told in combo with the Philadelphia experiment, like I'm doing. But as far as I know, I'm the first person to also like string it with our world ended in 2012 thing. So this is
Oh, nice. Okay.
stringing a 3 for us.
A brand new hot take. Got it.
Brand new hot take. Because you remember me talking about that back in the 2012 episode.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's jump
We
right
remember
into this.
all the way back in 2012 when he spun this story a long time ago.
It was about 2012, not in 2012. Unless we time traveled, which, just
Maybe we
a
did.
thought. Okay, so most of the story takes place in Montauk Point, which is on the east end of Long Island, New York. And
So the Montauk project took place on Montauk. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Who would have known? So this Montauk Point is known for its landmark lighthouse. So a little lighthouse, east side of Long Island. Within Montauk Point is Camp Hero, which I've brought up before. I've also seen it referenced as Fort Hero. Nichols in his book calls it Fort Hero all the time for whatever reason. So Fort Hero, Camp Hero, whatever. The Hero is an Air Force base, allegedly, that was abandoned in 1969. Nice. And the base
That took me a second.
the base lies west of the lighthouse, just to give you some geography.
Okay.
This base was active during the Cold War. And shocker, it was known for secret military experiments. There are a lot of rumors about Camp Hero, some of which include rumblings about psychological warfare ever since the mid-1980s. And I say mid-1980s, but remember I said it was closed in '69. Nice. So some of those rumors go into like they're messing with time travel, teleportation, mind control. Some say they staged the Apollo moon landing there.
Oh, okay.
And as Chris alluded to earlier, this story actually directly inspired the Netflix show Stranger Things. In fact, the showrunners originally wanted to title the show Montauk, and it just led into some legal issues and didn't happen. So all these rumors going on about this place on Long Island, it doesn't help, naturally, that the CIA has actually performed secret unethical experiments. Like they've been published, revealed, we know about them. So I mean, par for the course.
What?
They have kind of a reputation.
The government doing unethical things.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who would have known?
Who would have known?
It's not so much that I'm angry about it. It's just I'm disappointed.
Damn.
So we thought more of you, government.
That stung him. I got him right there.
Right there in the heart.
Yep.
Because the government does have daddy issues, so.
Boy, it does. Uncle Sam has some daddy issues. That dad's not Britain, by the way. Anyway, our main character that all this is going to be revolving around is Preston B. Nichols, author of said book. So, well, I'm going to say right up front, two things. Trigger warning: there are going to be a couple times I bring up some abuse, but I'm not going to go into details. I'm just going to mention that it happened. So, because there's no fun going into that. But just a put that up front before we go into the story. It'll be brief. But anyway, also Preston B. Nichols, not to get your hopes up, the guy's kind of a dick. I'm just going to give you that spoiler right off the front.
Listen, guy, before you're all like, "Yay," he's kind of a dick. Okay? Just putting it right out.
Nonetheless, he is our main best source of information thanks to this book he wrote.
He's our best dick source. Wait, no, never mind. Scratch that. That didn't sound right.
Okay, so Nichols was an electrical engineer and an inventor, and his specialty as an electrical engineer was electromagnetic phenomena, which you probably remember us talking about before.
EMP.
Sure. And just to give you a little foreshadowing, we have talked about this guy before, not by name. So it should dawn on you when we hit the details, like, that guy. Okay. So our electrical engineer, foreshadowing, yes.
Not to be confused.
So our electrical engineer here, his story begins after he obtains a grant to study mental telepathy.
Like you do.
Like you do. His intention when he got this grant was actually to do a bunch of experiments and stuff to disprove it. So he's going into this as a skeptic, wanting to just put it into it. But he ended up accidentally proving it despite himself.
So do we have a year for when he got this grant?
Not for when he got the grant.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of years in which things happen. So just take notes.
Okay.
So during these little experiments he's doing into mental telepathy, he discovered that telepathic communication, and this is quoting him, operated on principles strikingly similar to that of radio waves. Because of that, he would name this the telepathic wave and refer to it as a whole new brand of electromagnetic function.
Cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So Nichols starts working with a group of psychics. And this is where the story kicks off. He starts to realize that all of these psychics find that their minds are jammed at the same hour every day.
Is it raspberry? Only one man would dare use raspberry.
Lone Star.
God.
Yes.
So what time of day is this?
I don't know if he actually specified the time, but it was the same hour every day. So Nichols being go ahead.
Oh, go. I was gonna say, was it during the day? I've heard like sunlight obstructs that wave or whatever.
Really?
For the psychic wave, whatever we're calling it, I forgot. But yeah, I've heard that.
But I'm guessing it was during the day.
Or telepathic wave. See, I would almost think moon, because I think about how the moon affects is the reason the moon's gravitational forces affect our oceans, which is when we have waves. I would almost think more at night, like full moon, like that. They think the belief that has a profound effect on us.
Yeah, but nighttime's when all the spooky stuff happens.
Exactly.
So why not psychics being more powerful at night?
So yeah, that makes a good point. Never mind.
By the way, I don't want to gloss over. I don't want to gloss over too quickly that Nichols referred to telepathic communication being akin to radio wave, because a wave, and of course our listeners can't see him on camera doing a sign graphic. But
he's taking his finger and he's going up and down. He's mimicking
like a wave.
Like a wave.
Like a wave.
But what else? What else do we represent in waves that we've talked about exhaustively? Vibrations.
Oh, right. We gotta vibrate.
You gotta vibrate responsibly.
Vibrate responsibly.
Anywho, his psychics get mind jammed at the same hour every day. So Nichols, engineer that he was, busted out his radio equipment to try to correlate what could be coming over the airwaves that might be causing the telepathic jamming. And this is what opens a whole can of beans. Now, I'm going to skip over a whole lot of details here because if you read the book, he spends quite a bit of time on this topic. And as any engineer would do, he goes into very like high level, scientific engineering kind of details that are way over my head.
Details.
We got to dumb it down here. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be able to follow this story.
But what I respect about this is that this is the book. He's showing his science in the book, like numbers, figures, the whole 9 yards. Like he is not. This guy was not lazy in his writing. So he writes like an engineer.
We don't want this episode to be like our Interstellar. Did you ever see that movie, Interstellar? I watched that again recently.
Well, it's more like you'd have to be have to have like a degree in radio wave frequencies to understand that part of the book.
Yeah.
Not an electrical engineer is going to like fly over your head.
Well, it's like whenever I watch Interstellar, I have to rewatch certain scenes multiple times to even come close to grasping what the hell they're talking about. But I'm also dumb.
No, you're not.
Thank God I'm pretty.
Now, that said, I do want to share one of his technical details because it's fun. And this is quoting him. He says, so he pins it down. He says, when the 410 to 420 megahertz cycle was off, the psychics would open back up after about 20 minutes. So whatever's jamming them, it's within the 410 to 420 megahertz.
Oh,
of,
weird.
Electrical whoozits. All right. So with that first clue, Nichols discovers Montauk, which is in vicinity of wherever he's located at that time. So, again, being the engineer that he is, he sets up a modified TV antenna on top of his car with a VHF receiver. And using this jerry-rigged antenna on top of his car, he traces that 410 to 420 megahertz signal to Montauk Point.
Okay.
Now, what's significant about this discovery in particular is Montauk Point. The most recognizable thing about it, if you're passing by, is this giant radar dish sitting on top of the building, which is there to this day.
Because you think it would be the monsters running around. It's a radar dish. Down there. Look at that radar dish.
It's the radar dish that gets everybody's attention. Go figure. This radar dish was known as the Sage radar, and it was in fact a World War II defense system. So basically the Sage radar is actually there to this day, just inoperative because it became known as such a landmark that they didn't want to tear it down. Anywho, so he pinpoints it to, it's coming from this giant ass radar dish on top of Montauk Point. So pauses on that train of thought for a little bit, but he comes back in 1984. And by the time he comes back in 84, it's been abandoned. And Nichols
because
finds
of monsters.
Nichols finds that there's debris strewn everywhere, which we talked about this.
Because of monsters.
And because of monsters. We talked about this in the 2012 episode in the Philadelphia experiment, right? They somehow spawned some monster in the base that ran around under the base, remember? That's why everyone's not seeing it. It's down the basement levels.
Right.
But that's why they
they say it was.
But is
so
this
they say.
Didn't they fill it with like cement or something?
Yes.
So
is this why you
I was about to say they filled it all with the tunnels with cement, correct?
Right, which is why if you visit the base today, you can't access down there. It's all filled in.
So in 1984, when he comes back and it's abandoned, is this pre-cement or post-cement?
I would assume that they didn't waste any time cementing the monster down there. So hopefully It's been long cemented by then.
They're like, we're gonna wait 10 years. It's fine.
But
Let's
but
let
if
him
you-
do plenty of damage and then we'll do something, guys.
Yeah, the-
He's like, at this point, the
Typical
monster's down there, like, he's all like chilling and reading the paper, and then suddenly here comes some men, like,
well, it's the government. They have to go through all the red tape.
Yes,
You
takes
know, yeah.
all
forever.
levels of approval.
That acquisition request for all that cement, man.
But what's notable about this, as I mentioned in that previous episode, was the base was hastily abandoned, which is why Nichols is now here in 84, like finding debris everywhere. It's unlike the military to just dump and run. So anyway, on that note, Nichols is noting that it's not a normal state of an abandoned military site. There's equipment left behind, and everything, according to him, had the appearance of having been hastily abandoned. And so while Nichols is exploring the site, and I'm going to put quotes around this, he legally, or in his words, semi-officially, acquired leftover equipment that had been used in the project from the base.
Oh, he pulled the old finders keepers. Got
He
it.
pulled the old finders keepers. So this is where it gets interesting. While he's exploring the abandoned base, he encounters this homeless man who had been squatting there since it had been abandoned. The homeless dude turns out to be a former technician who went AWOL in the final days of the project. And the homeless dude seems to somehow recognize Nichols and refers to him as his boss.
Oh. Is this the guy that was living two timelines at the same time?
Oh, hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought. So the homeless dude is talking, he starts talking about a quote unquote big beast that scared everyone away. Again, which we mentioned in the Philadelphia experiment
The
episode.
demon dog.
Yes. So, because of his experiments that he had the grant for, Nichols has kind of his own little team of psychics. So one of them in particular that he brought with him to this base goes by the name of Brian. So the psychic Brian is with Nichols on this excursion. And so Nichols asked Brian to perform a reading while he's there on site. And Brian mentions that there had been, when this place was operational, there had been irregular weather patterns, mind control, and a vicious beast, all of which occurred.
Every time you mention the beast now, in my head, I just see Shrek.
Oh my god.
He'd be like,
Shrek is
I'm
live.
a terrifying ogre. And now I just see Shrek wandering around these cemented. He's down there just like, finally at peace. Ooh.
And then the psychic starts poking around.
And then it's like, and then he comes through. What do you want? Get out of my island.
So that's trip number one. But this keeps Nichols' interest, of course. So he comes back. But leading up to this, while Nichols is back home, where he has his own little home lab that he's been operating out of, a stranger bursts into his home lab. And the stranger bursting in also claims to know Nichols as his boss. And the story that he tells, Nichols, matches up with the story the homeless guy told when they visited on site. So with that, Nichols' interest is renewed, and he comes back to Montauk a second time, this time to interview the locals in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so some of the locals talked about, again, strange weather. Some saying that it snowed in August.
Whoa.
and that other times hurricane force winds would come out of nowhere, and etc. Stuff like that.
Okay.
And now to quote Nichols himself from the book, Nichols goes on to say, I finally got the idea to speak to the chief of police, who also informed me of strange happenings. For example, crimes would be committed in a 2-hour period. Then all of a sudden, nothing. Keep in mind that Montauk is a very small town. After the quiet, another 2-hour period of crimes would occur. Teens were also reported to suddenly group en masse for 2 hours, then mysteriously separate and go their own ways.
Teens, like teenagers or
Correct.
teens? Okay.
Well, that's
teens.
teenagers in general. They all like, yeah, let's get together and do stuff. And then they're like, I'm bored, bye.
I don't know. I'm getting a creepier mental image about this. Like
Yeah.
they just gather, stand around zombie-like.
I mean, if they're gathering
That's
around.
what I was
and-
thinking.
yeah, that's creepy. Like, you're driving down Main Street and you're just like, when are them teenagers? Wait,
They're
what?
just standing
and they're
there.
just like, okay. Remember
Yeah,
that movie?
otherwise, it's like, who would have thought a bunch of teenagers would group up together for 2 hours?
No. Do you remember that
This is
movie
weird.
in the 90s, Disturbing Behavior? You know?
Yes.
All right.
James is like,
So it's about to get juicier.
Okay.
So he does that visit, interviews the locals, goes back home. And then another dude bursts into his home lab.
Oh my God.
Guess
Viennese like
who?
crazy.
Guess who this dude is?
Another guy that says he's his boss.
Duncan Cameron,
I
who,
really
if
thought,
you
The time
recall,
traveler?
was one of our 2 time-traveling sailors
Okay.
from the Philadelphia experiment.
I really thought he was about to say Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. I don't know why.
There can only be one.
But that would have been my second guess.
So the
The time-
Highlanders showed up in his lab.
That can be only one.
So you remember the Cameron brothers were 2
Yeah.
sailors. So Philadelphia, the what was the name of that ship? The Eldridge. The Eldridge vanishes from Philadelphia harbor for a while. And then the soldiers come back aboard the ship and crazy things happen. But the 2 sailors, the Cameron brothers, were the exception. They fall out of time and appear in the future. So hold that thought. We're going to return to that again.
You
But
know
this
what?
is Duncan Cameron
I
down
feel-
the 80s,
I feel like
busting
this
into
is-
Nichols' home.
This is James's Avengers Endgame.
This is
Dun, 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 dun. Time traveler Montauk.
I want to talk to you about the
experiment.
crazy ass initiative.
The portals are all opening up, and it's just like the Philadelphia ship. You know, Montauk monster,
Alien fleets,
alien fleet,
Ashtar walks
Ashtar,
on,
shadow people, and then
lizard people.
little
Just-
time travel and Duncan. This is
Don't
this
forget
is-
Santa,
and
Oh
Santa.
yeah, Santa Claus.
creepy Santa who shuffles under your tree.
Oh, you're mine, bitch.
Somebody please animate this. All right, so Duncan Cameron shows up at
Whiskey
Nichols'
went up my nose.
house/lab with a bunch of radio equipment that he wanted Nichols' help with, because of course, Nichols is kind of a radio guru. But Brian, the psychic, gets a bad vibe as soon as Duncan shows up and splits. He's like, nope, bad vibes off this guy. Peace out. I'm done.
That's a
I mean, he did
superhero
break
name.
into his home, so
Brian the psychic. Who the hell are you? I'm Brian the psychic.
Which is funny. He never gives Brian a last name in his book. So
Why
it
would
really
you?
is just Brian. Yeah.
That's who cares? This is perfect. I want to make a film now just about Brian the psychic.
Right?
He was a
His
regular
last name
guy.
is the psychic.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian splits at this point because he's like, they're saying this something ain't right about this Duncan. All right. So Duncan gets Nichols' interest, of course. Nichols surprises Duncan by taking him along to his next trip back to Montauk. So while they're with Nichols, Duncan recognizes the place and says that he knew the place like the back of his hand, even though he hadn't been there before, supposedly.
So this is after the movie The Philadelphia Experiment came out, when he realized that he was part of that, or is this the other brother?
This is the other brother.
Okay.
And I don't think the movie came out yet.
Okay.
Nichols isn't all that great about giving us dates for all these visits, so it's kind of iffy. Anywho, so Duncan specifically enters the transmitter building, remember the radar dish,
Mhm.
and as soon as he walks into that building, he goes into a trance and just starts spitting out a bunch of random information.
Like you do.
Like you do. Nichols has to just shake him repeatedly to snap him out of it. So after that, they go back to Nichols' lab.
just
What's the information?
yeah. Sorry.
So yeah, after that, Nichols takes him back to his lab and uses techniques that he had learned to unlock Duncan's memories.
I'm
So
suspicious.
Nichols knows some like government techniques for, I guess, unlocking repressed memories.
Is it waterboarding?
Oh my God.
I'm not gonna, given what we learn about Nichols later, I am not ruling that out.
I've got a way to unlock your memories, but it might be a little unorthodox. 2 hours later.
So hold that thought.
Do you remember yet?
I remember
Okay.
you're an asshole.
I remember that you're a dick.
So anyway, once he uses his techniques, quote unquote,
James just did the quote expression with his fingers to our listeners.
Thank you, which was what I meant when I said quote unquote. But so upon unlocking his memories, Duncan reveals that he was programmed to visit Nichols' lab to destroy it, and supposedly, according to some, kill Nichols. So he's sent there as an assassin to put an end to all this.
Okay.
But after unlocking this memory and breaking Duncan out of it, the two decide to work together from this point forward. So they form a partnership. And this is the point that Duncan remembers that he had previously been aboard the Eldridge during the Philadelphia experiment in 43. Okay.
That's a lot to remember. You know, it's like
Mhm.
I remember that I'm supposed to trash your apartment, your lab, kill you. Also, I'm a time traveler
There's a lot to take in.
from the 1940s.
I should have stayed home today.
No wonder I love jazz.
Where the hell is my brother?
Brother. Okay, so let's do a super fast recap of the Philadelphia experiment just to keep
I should
our
say, no wonder
shaky
I have
continuity
great taste in music. No wonder I love Glenn Miller.
Okay.
1945, 43, whatever, forget the year. But if you remember, the Philadelphia experiment was all about experiments to find a way to either avoid radar detection or avoid all detection, depending on the version of the story you go by.
Yeah, it was supposed to
Right.
be stealth technology, wasn't it? Created
Well,
by Tesla.
Yeah, right. Correct. So of all Tesla and Einstein's unpublished theories, which we'll go
Yeah.
into a little bit later, evolved at Eldridge. It was stationed in the Philadelphia shipyard. It turned invisible, time traveled through a hyperspace bubble. Remember that detail. 10 minutes backwards to Norfolk, Virginia, which was 200 miles away.
Mhm.
And then remember all the stuff that happened to the crew, the merging into the walls,
How could
the
we
bulkhead,
forget?
the vanishing, the being on fire for however many days and turning inside out, all that fun stuff.
That
Right.
freaked that,
That was the
that
worst.
freaked me out more than even the guys merged into the wall.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because I imagine you would die pretty quickly, but you're just burning for days. Like that's ugh.
So glad we remember that. Okay, so a name you may remember from the Philadelphia experiment would be Al Bielek. Bielek? I'm going to go Bielek. Who we would find out was actually Edward Cameron, Duncan's brother, the other time traveling sailor. So this is the point we pick up on the rest of Belix / Cameron's story. Now, okay, so remember that according to Belix, he saw the 84 movie, The Philadelphia Experiment.
Mhm.
That unlocks his memories. He comes forward saying he was Edward Cameron, so on and so on. All right. And he realizes that his memories have been wiped via CIA MK Ultra techniques. All right, so his memories are restored. And you remember the crazy age math we couldn't figure out.
Right.
He and his
Oh, yeah.
brother Duncan were in their 20s when they were aboard the Eldridge. While the Eldridge was time traveling through that hyperspace bubble, the two of them, and only the two of them, are thrown forward to Camp Hero, the Montauk Project,
Mhm.
August 12th, 1983.
Well, that's because they jumped over the side of the ship, I thought.
According to you said in the movie they did that.
It's in the movie, but after we
Yeah.
talked, I feel like I found something that supported that, like later on about this.
So I actually listened to the episode yesterday. So this is fresh on my memory. But yeah, you were talking about you saw in the movie that they jumped off the side of the ship while it was time traveling, which I didn't say at the time, but like, that seems risky.
I know.
You're in a hyperspace bubble and your instinct is let's jump off the ship.
Yeah, that's pretty
Well,
wild.
I mean, actually, it's not if you think about it, because like if things are going wrong with the ship, I do believe there's this instinct to abandon ship. Perhaps in the panic of the moment, your logic says, well, maybe we jump over the ship, we'll land back where we're supposed to be, you know? I don't know. Like you're trying to distance yourself from your present predicament. So I would could see some kind of logic to it.
I guess,
Yeah.
especially if they're seeing people merging into walls with it, they're like, oh,
Right,
yeah,
shit,
it's
I gotta
like-
get out.
Oh my
Maybe
God,
we
Tom
should
just merged
just-
into that wall. I don't know what the hell's happening, but I'm jumping over. I'll be jumping.
Yes.
I'd
saw
So
jump
the
that
worst
happen.
that could happen is we die, which is probably
Pete's on fire,
probably
and
a
he's
relief.
not, and the flame is not dying out. You know what? I don't want to stay here. I'm going to take my chances of jumping over the side and seeing what happens.
what off this ride.
One off
Okay.
this roller coaster from hell.
So our two 20-something sailors from 1943 land in 1983 and join the Montauk Project.
I just love that.
So
Hey, we're from the past. Can we join your fun club of monsters and weird ass experiments? Sure, buddy.
Natural
So-
fit.
Hey,
so now
Cameron
that we're-
brothers.
yes, like, what else you got to do? So
I don't have a job.
So let's see. All right. So now we're going to tell that story from the side of the Montauk Project, which is going to at least fill in some blanks that we had last time.
Mhm.
Okay, so the Montauk Project was actually directly derived from the Philadelphia experiment. In fact, this is kind of a Philadelphia experiment part 2 for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
Because it's continuing, the whole purpose of the Montauk Project is to continue the electromagnetic research that began with the Philadelphia experiment. It's been a couple of decades, time to pick up the ball. So here's some new information that might help explain the weird age math we were confused about last time. I'm not going to say completely, but at least help explain it.
Yeah.
So forget Duncan for a bit. Duncan has a more direct path. We're
Duncan
talking
who?
about Cameron.
I forgot about him. Sorry.
So we're talking solely about the brother Al Bielek / Edward Cameron. Edward, before jumping to 83 with his brother, Al / Edward, he actually jumps way forward to 2137.
Oh, what the hell?
That sounds fun.
He lands in 2137 and his brother is nowhere in sight.
Because he's been dead for 170 years. Is this where they saw the horse statue?
hold that thought. That will come up later. This is where it just makes the 2012 episode more confusing, but just hold that. Again, continuity is questionable at best. So he lands in 2137. His brother is nowhere to be found. And he finds out Florida is underwater. California is just a set of islands now. The Great Lakes have merged. And there are only 3 million people left after a nuclear war broke out.
Oh, on the planet, period. 3
Right.
million.
3 million. So
Okay.
this brings the 2012 episode into question, right? Because we were saying that you couldn't travel any further in time than 2012. Well, you could, but you wouldn't find anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Just a horse statue.
Just a horse statue. But maybe this does jive with it, because if there is only 3 million people left on the entire planet, chances are if you landed at any given point,
there's not going to be
you
anybody
wouldn't see
there.
anybody. You might assume the planet's dead. So
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you could assume they all died or they left.
Right.
Because I would hope that at some point we're eventually going to leave the planet and colonize other worlds. That's my hope. So you could assume
Just the rich people.
Yeah.
either way,
Elon Musk and his lot.
which in that case, it would be way more of us still stuck here than 3 million people, like 6,900,000 and, whatever.
They're going to bomb us with a nuke before they leave.
Yeah. Like, we're going off to other worlds. Also, fuck the rest of you.
So from 2137, he next jumps to 2749. Don't ask me how. No idea.
Damn.
I'm guessing it was random. Like maybe he was still
You're-
with them.
You're guessing it was random?
I have no other details to go on.
Well, I'm just like, you know what? You know what good place to go to would be? What's that? 2749. Let's go.
Well, yeah, and maybe it's like those other people that were just disappearing after the Philadelphia experiment, where they'd be there and then they just like disappeared
Right.
suddenly.
That's what I'm thinking. That he wasn't solidly in any time yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he jumps from 2137 to 2749 and then lives there for 2 years.
Cool.
Okay.
Now this,
How was his life?
well, this is yet another story. So I avoided going into it. Yeah, because I avoided going into it because like at this point we're like far away from the Montauk project. This has nothing to do with it. This is just Al's future time adventures. But
Al's future time adventures, horse statues, and 2749.
right. But I will tell you that a couple of notable details that I pulled away from his time in his 2 years in 2749. There at this point, humanity now has anti-gray tech. Gray aliens,
Oh,
the gray,
which they have used to enable floating cities.
You're not probing me anymore, you bastards.
Right. So the anti-gray tech enables them to build floating cities that are run entirely by AI.
That would be cool.
But anyway, there is an entire story that branches off from this. That's Al's Future Adventures. And if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend going to the Y-Files on YouTube. They do an episode that goes a lot into the stuff that I'm not going into. So like they did an excellent episode on it. Like go watch that. So also, I will say like during this future adventure, we get into a lot of like time paradox craziness that I am just not even ready to talk about because it was like my brain was in like just pretzels after trying to put all that together. So for the intents and purposes of this topic, let's just suffice it to say he has his jaunt to the future, sees a bunch of crazy crap, and then jumps back again. Again, we're not told on purpose, randomly or whatever, but after living there for 2 years, he jumps again to 1983 and is reunited with Duncan at Montauk. So now both Montauk brothers are at the base. Y'all with me still?
Family reunion. Got it. Okay.
Where have you been, brother? You have no idea.
Right.
Weird shit, dude. Flying cities, 2749, and a horse statue.
Yeah, so I'm guessing like while Edward is having future adventures, this is the time that Duncan by himself is bugging Nichols. Since Edward is nowhere on the scene during that time.
Right.
So next, let's talk about the Montauk boys. Now, just to disappoint everybody up front.
Look at them Montauk boys fighting monsters and time traveling and having all
Solving
kinds of adventures.
crimes.
Solving crime and
I was about to
loving
say-
and loving the ladies.
I was about to say,
Breaking
this is
hearts all through the centuries.
to disappoint everybody, the Montauk Boys is not a country gospel music group.
This is good old boys traveling through time and meaning no harm.
So the Montauk Boys were dubbed so because they were children abducted for the Montauk Project. Some as young as 4 years old.
Oh,
So
this took a dark turn.
Abducted from the Montauk Project or for
or
the
for-
Montauk?
abducted
For.
for.
Okay.
Were they
Yeah.
were these kids like, were they orphans? Or they like just kids from like who had families? They were just
The former. So they're basically well, both. They're
it
taking
doesn't
off the
here's the
street.
thing, it doesn't matter in the end. It's kids, and that pisses me off.
Right, hence aforementioned trigger warning. But they're taken off the streets or from their homes. And yes, to your point, they're usually like orphans, like kids nobody knew or cared about, quote unquote. And they were so psychologically abused that they lost their memories of their time at the Montauk Project. For the rest of their lives, they would not have any memories of it.
That might be a good thing.
Right. So here enters our next character. A now grown Montauk boy by the name of Stuart Swerdlow recovers his memories and comes forward to be interviewed by the Sun. So I'm now going to quote Swerdlow directly, one of the Montauk boys himself. He says, when the experiment started, they'd target expendable boys like orphans, runaways, or the children of drug addicts. The kinds of kids no one would really come looking for. The aim was to fracture your mind so they could program you. They would change the temperature from very hot to very cold, starve you, then overfeed you. I remember being beaten with a wooden pole. And they loved to hold your head underwater
Oh no.
until you nearly drowned.
Just for the
That was
record,
effective.
anybody
It makes a
that
person
who does this
Yeah.
just go to hell, burn for all eternity. I hope the monster kept you alive for weeks
right.
and made you his bitch.
But you
Yeah.
protected it with the waterboarding. Anyway, that was effective. It makes a person likely to listen to and obey their rescuer.
Right.
They also used LSD to put our brains into an altered state. End quote. Of course, LSD is no surprise because of MK Ultra, which actually happened.
hmm
So there's at least some base in reality of some of those claims. So yeah, Montauk boys did not have a good time.
Can I ask real quick? Do we know how this Montauk boy recovered his memory?
No, not that I found anyway.
Okay.
If we were to dig into Swordlow a little bit more, we might find. But the only exposure I've had to him is that interview in the Sun.
Okay.
So some of the boys were sent to Mars, and others to biblical times.
Oh man, why? These poor fucking kids, dude. They cannot catch a break. If they're not here being abused, they're being sent through time or space.
Or to Mars.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I'm going to quote the Swordlow interview again. In the early days, as they were perfecting the coordinates, a lot of the boys were simply lost. I still have nightmares about it today. I wasn't there when the Montauk chair was shut off. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Mhm.
But I felt it, like I had suddenly been unplugged from electricity. End quote.
Ooh.
So what I'm
That's
getting is they're
spooky.
just throwing kids through time portals and just seeing what happens.
Yeah, they're
Jesus
like,
Christ.
let's see what this will do.
So
Come here, Timmy.
Mars, Bible
Hey,
times, whatever.
You're a good little boy. You know that? Thanks, Sergeant Finger. Come here. Nothing happened.
Meanwhile, in Bible times,
Meanwhile, Pontius Pilate, shall I condemn this?
Never mind.
Thanks, Henry.
I was gonna say Jesus was a Montauk boy.
Yeah. And just be like, who's her? Jesus? Hello there, Peter.
I was debating whether I should say that or not. How
it
much
would
trouble?
explain a lot.
How much trouble am I gonna be in for saying that?
I just love how Henry, my son, just added in that whole special.
Okay, so let's so moving on. Let's talk about the events leading up to Nichols writing his book.
Mhm.
So we get caught up to kind of semi-modern time. Okay, so according to Nichols' book, he shares everything he's found to this point with a big name politician. This is where the side notes come in. According to Stealth Skater, who seems to be quite well versed in these topics, he theorizes with some degree of confidence that the politician Nichols went to was Barry Goldwater.
Oh, we got a name.
So let's assume that for funsies.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So Goldwater asks Nichols to stay quiet, so while Goldwater opens his own investigation, because he's now interested. So Goldwater himself visits the site, verifies there was an active base that did something, and then closes the investigation because that's all he found. There is a base, something happened in the end.
Water, you are
Mhm.
incompetent.
Or they found, a lot, and they're like, but as far as you know, this is it.
Right. So Nichols gives Goldwater enough time to do or not do whatever he's doing or not doing. And then after Goldwater closes the investigation, Nichols writes the book, said book of which I'm referencing this entire episode. All right. While Nichols is writing the book, his memories return. His own memories return that he didn't know he was missing.
Big boss man. Okay.
And he was realizing at this point, as Christina predicted, this is the guy that had been living in two different times simultaneously.
All right.
So when I mentioned that nameless guy last episode, it was Nichols. So this is how that discovery is made. All right. So this is the guy, if you remember me mentioning him in the previous episode, I talked about some guy who had a bandage that he didn't remember having that covered a wound that he acquired in an alternate reality. That was Nichols. All right. So he has a lot more incidents like that. That was not a one shot. Like that kind of thing keeps happening. So he is working at an office at the time. I forget the name of it, but it would not have been noteworthy other than this event. So he keeps having incidents at work like that. For example, some others that occurred, he would receive mail for a relevant to a job position that he didn't have. And he would be invited to meetings that had nothing to do with his work.
Oh no, not more meetings.
Right?
Hey, would you guys like to come to a 3-hour meeting about sanitation? What?
Any of your listeners that have office jobs knows that that's hardly surprising. But anyway, this happens enough times that he finally decides to kind of test his growing theory on this oddity, and he tries to access a restricted area that's above his clearance level. So he goes down to this lower level, meets a security guard. The security guard recognizes him and gives Nichols his own badge, as in gives Nichols badge to Nichols, if you will. Okay. Gives Nichols his own badge and lets him pass.
Mr. Nichols, I am such a huge fan. I've even got your own personalized badge. I went to the mall and had it engraved. This is for you. You go on back. It's totally fine. I don't even care if I lose my job over this.
All right. So using his own card, he walks this restricted area as if he already knew the layout. And then he finds his much nicer office with his other self's title of assistant project director.
Okay, I mean, faking it till he makes it,
I
made
just
himself
gave
his own
myself
flag.
my own promotion by being way too curious.
So this is the point he realizes he's been living two lives. Hit one, his normal electrical engineer life, and two, his super secret government project life.
I hate when that happens. Actually, I love it when that happens. So like, go home, talk to your wife, can't make your bills.
How was
can't
your
pay
day,
them.
honey?
How was your day, honey? I found out that I was president of the world.
So he later recovers more memories in 1990 while constructing a Delta T antenna on the roof of his lab.
Like
I'm
you
not
do.
gonna.
This guy likes sticking antennas on the roof of things.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna pretend to understand what an antenna T means, but
Yeah,
okay.
So he goes into great lengths to define what exactly a Delta T antenna is in fantastic electrical engineer terms that are way over my head. We're just not going to go there. Okay.
I just see him like wherever Billings in, like,
just-
like it all just comes back to him while he's just like hammering. He's just like putting in a screw.
Just like the solution to everything is to stick an antenna on the roof of something.
Exactly.
Maybe we should all adopt that.
I'm gonna need an electrical engineer to read this and actually tell us if it means what he says it means, because he could literally be given a just gibberish and we're like, oh yeah, he's so
I mean,
smart.
I could probably supply an engineer for us. I married into a genius level family. So several engineers in my wife's family.
Send him the book. Okay, so now that he knows he's been living two lives and two timelines simultaneously, he realizes that in the other, I'm going to say timeline / existence / dimension / whatever, he worked on the Montauk project as a technical director. That was his other life. Which is why all these
Naturally.
people have been calling him boss.
Oh man.
If something's important enough, you make the time. And if you can't make the time,
He literally makes the time.
then you create time travel and bring back the time.
We have all been doing this way wrong. We need to take a page from Nichols' book, which is thankfully published.
This is the real guru of productivity.
If you
Yeah.
really cared about that project, you would invent time travel and live between two alternate timelines.
Come on, here's the
Judging
program.
you, just so you know.
So after he publishes this book, a bunch of other people come forward claiming knowledge of the project. And he learns that experiments involved, as previously mentioned, mind control, telepathy, space-time portals, alien contact, and runaway child abductions.
Typical
Tying us back
office
to-
work.
Typical office work. So, to tie this back to the Philadelphia experiment, it was indeed the Montauk project that ripped open a hole in space-time to 1943, through which the Cameron brothers came through. So, So that's why the two of them time traveled. It was opened on the Montauk side of time. They're the ones that opened it. And
Okay.
the
Why
two
did we
brothers-
time travel to this point? Look, guys,
I'm on
our
board.
bad. We didn't. we were fucking around with things that we didn't. But
We didn't understand.
we're sorry, guys. Right side, you know. You don't have to boil everything. There's video games, and everything's in color now.
I was like, oh my God, colors.
And by colors, I mean film.
Of course.
Real life went from black
That's
and
what we
white to
both
color.
want. Okay, so you might think this is a pretty big, expensive project for the government to be running.
Yeah.
So a question and a hint. How do you think this was financed, and what has been missing from this story so far?
Taxes,
War. Sexual abuse.
drugs.
It was financed with Nazi gold
Nazis.
taken during World War II.
That was going to be my sixth guess.
Damn. We just danced around it.
You're talking. I know.
That's
So I
all
know
around
this
it.
story about the undiscovered treasure of Nazis. There was this old story about this gold that, of course, they had accumulated by stealing it from the Jewish community and acclimated it. And the story goes that they had kept, I mean, untold amounts of gold that they
Mhm.
had taken. And the gold had disappeared after the Allies invaded Berlin.
And what else are you going to do with Nazi gold?
Some crazy experiment.
Yeah,
Fun
time
time
travel.
travel and portals to monsters. I mean, what else are you going to do?
And abducting children.
Not
to
give us better
experiment with.
health care and I don't know, or maybe better give it back to the Jewish community that it was stolen from.
Nah, time travel. Let's time travel and throw children at the ancient Jews just to screw things up further.
Yeah.
Wait, were any Nazis involved?
Hold that
Nazi
thought.
scientists. Okay.
Hold that thought.
Oh, I'm sure
we
there
got
were.
we got gold.
All right. So let's pause momentarily from the continuity and just talk about the mind control experiments specifically. So the book refers to, quote unquote, electronic mind surveillance and the control of distinct populations.
Distinct.
Oh. Uh-oh.
So
I'm about to get angry again, aren't I?
no, actually, I don't know what he meant about distinct.
Okay.
'Cause I think by distinct he meant like if there's like a large populace of people, you could instead of like having to broadly control all of them at once, you could aim it toward 20 people within that larger group.
Okay.
I think that's what he meant by distinct,
Okay.
not the other many American ways we might use that
Other
word.
insidious ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. The Sage radar becomes prominent again here. All right, so the Sage radar, previously used for World War II purposes in the 60s, now in the 80s, is being used to provide the power needed to run at 425 to 450 megahertz, which is the window frequencies for accessing human consciousness.
For our listeners, he did the quotations with his fingers again.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just looking out for our listeners.
Somebody has to.
Yeah, somebody has to because I'm not. Sorry, guys. So 410 to 420 was like the block, but then so we're at 425 to 450, which is
Accessing
what'd you
human
say?
consciousness.
Actually, okay, got it.
Very specific frequencies here. So I guess under that you're just jamming them, but like these higher frequencies, you can now access them.
Okay.
That's my layman's guess, not being an electrical radio wave engineer guru. Okay, so the experiment involves a chair in a shielded room, the aforementioned Montauk chair. The transmitter associated with the Sage radar is pointed toward the building housing the room with the chair. So you would see, so remember me talking about the Philadelphia experiment, you sit in the chair, you get mind powers.
Right.
When
So
the
it's
radar
from
is
the
aimed at you. Aim the
Okay.
dish at the chair, boom, you have mind powers. Okay, so there's a problem though.
Sit in the
Prolonged-
chair. Mind powers.
Prolonged exposure, however, causes problems, as Duncan learns the hard way. Duncan is rendered brain dead from sitting in the chair too long.
Wait, wait.
So it's kind of
But
like
when? Because Duncan's one of the ones that went to Preston, right?
so this is kind of like when I like go to the bathroom
Confused.
and I start playing with TikTok and 2 hours go by and I can't feel my legs anymore. But instead of my legs, it would be my brain, right? Kind of like that.
Yeah, and you're thinking too narrow-minded to think that brain dead is that much of a problem.
Your face is narrow-minded.
Because Duncan remained alive and continued to function after going brain dead via sheer force
That's not how brain dead works.
of his psychic aptitude alone.
Oh,
By the
okay.
way, he's psychic.
Wow.
Duncan's psychic. Don't ask. I don't know. And this is just kind of mentioned as a passing comment.
He's brain dead, but his brain's so powerful and psychic
Yes.
that
he's not.
He's not brain dead. It's just one
Yes.
part of his brain that's dead, but the other part.
No, the whole brain is dead.
lively.
No. His whole brain is dead, but his sheer powerful psychic force keeps him functioning anyway.
Where's the
Keeps
psychic-
the shell of his body.
Where's the
That
psychic?
freaking
Is
psychic.
is his psychic force in his appendix? I mean, like, I would imagine the psychic force is here.
Given what I'm about to talk about in a few minutes, you're going to rethink where his psychic force is coming from.
I have a
I'm just
feeling
gonna.
I'm going to wish that I had like 3 more bottles of this bullet bourbon.
We're going to talk about where that psychic force is coming from.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on to your seats.
Buckle up, kids.
All right. So all this work between the chair and the radar pointed at said chair result in them finally figuring out mind control. Albeit imprecise, but mind control nonetheless. So they test this mind control on the local townspeople by changing their moods.
Like you do.
Fucking dicks, dude.
Right?
Hey,
so rude.
we're going to try this out on that unsuspecting by making them all fucking pissed.
Look, they're all sad. It worked. So let's talk a little more about this Montauk chair now. All right. So I really hope you guys are keeping up with all the name dropping here. Nichols, at this point, and Bilek / Edward Cameron, not Duncan, the other brother, the one that went to the future,
Yeah.
they become friends during this period of the Montauk chair testing. So these two dudes developed the Montauk chair, and there are actually several iterations, versions of the chair. So there's not just one. They iterated a few times over, as you do doing a science. So it has been suggested, quote unquote, from Nichols, that the Syrians, and by that I mean the aliens from Sirius, helped
I'm
develop.
glad you made that distinction there. Like not Syrians, for, human beings from Syria, not to be mistaken from actual human beings. We're talking about the planet Sirius, also not to be confused with Gary Coleman's character from Harry Potter.
So the Syrians helped develop the technology. So in other words, the Syrians provide the basic design, which our humans then run with, and boom, you got a Montauk chair.
I love how he's like, boom, Montauk chair.
That's how it works.
Did the Montauk chair also destroy Atlantis? Because we're just bringing everything in. So
Yeah.
why not Atlantis too?
Boom, psychic powers. Boom, Montauk chair.
Boom, your
Boom.
mom.
Boom, your mom.
Okay.
Boom,
So
time travel, horse statue.
it all ends with a horse statue. So they use electromagnetism. Don't forget the electromagnetism.
Could not forget.
They use that to
Who could forget
enhance
that?
So they use the electromagnetism to enhance the psychic powers of whoever sits in the chair.
Duh.
Mhm.
Right, of course. What else are you gonna do with it?
But
Boom,
also
chair.
blow up the brains.
Boom, electric
chair-
magnetism.
The chair is in fact reading their human aura.
It's reading their aura. Okay.
Was it blue?
Why? Who cares?
Enhance it. So I
Okay.
I think I misspoke in the Philadelphia experiment episode when I said like you sit in it, you get psychic powers. It's more if you sit an existing psychic in the chair, they get boosted psychic powers.
Boom, boosted.
And
yeah,
that,
they go Super Saiyan.
and that lives in the aura? Is that why they're checking the
Yes.
aura? Okay.
Whereas if you're normal,
Come on, Katrina.
boom,
You gotta stay with the
nothing
program here.
happens.
I'm sorry. I don't necessarily know where psychic phenomena lives in the body.
I don't either.
Boom.
No, we're gonna
Your
find
mother
out.
was
Don't
right.
worry. We're
You're
gonna
never
find
going-
out.
Boom, your mother was right. You're never going to amount to anything.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Boom.
Not boom that.
So while in the Montauk chair, whatever the person sitting in it envisions would first show up on a screen, on a monitor.
Oh, cool.
So this monitor is connected to a Cray 1 supercomputer and an IBM 360. For anybody who knows what that is, that's what they were running the monitor.
Nobody knows what that is.
And it's-
Nobody.
Picture one of those computers that takes up a whole room.
And actually,
I
anybody
don't
who knows what
know.
anybody who's a nerd in 80s tech is probably going to know what an IBM 360 was. I don't. But anywho, that's powering the screen. Psychic sits in the chair, imagines something that appears on that screen. Which is kind of cool. It's kind of transhumanist little technology psychic, combo there.
Yeah.
Question.
So that's the first phrase. You think it pops up on screen.
So anything.
Anything. Yes, Chris, dick pics.
I was thinking horsecock Mario naked riding on the back of the horse with Princess Peach, but she has the head of Vladimir Putin.
Didn't want to know that. But anyway, so they advance it further from that first stage. They do some more science to where the person in the chair could physically manifest the object with the supercomputer's help. So I like to think of this as a psychic 3D printer.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Oh my God! Why did you put Chris in the seat? There's a horse riding around. Is
Oh,
it
no.
Mario? It's me, I'm Mario.
Actually, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that, and you're going to find out why shortly.
I mean,
So I'm going to quote Nichols
Kinda
again.
It's the monster.
Right. So Nichols says in his book, and I quote, "In other words, if he, person sitting in the chair, would hold an object in his hand and or visualize it, it would appear at the given spot." The given spot is somewhere else in the building that they designate. They call it a null point at some points.
Mhm.
So there's a designated spot in the building where this stuff appears. Sometimes, so that this is, imprecise. Sometimes the thing coming into existence would only be visible but not solid, sort of like a ghost image.
Oh, like a hologram.
Yes. Sometimes it would actually be solid and it would stay. And then yet other times it would stay until the transmitter was turned off, and then it would fade away out of existence.
by the way,
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt. I was just reminded why having kids can sometimes be terrifying. Henry just walked in and said,
Ghost.
there was a ghost in the living room.
Oh God.
And I'm like, is it still there? Yes. And it's coming this way. And it wants
This
to
is live,
hug.
folks.
And
This
he's
is,
like,
this is our first ever live.
and then
Something
he's like,
happening.
it wants to hug you.
Oh.
Aw.
It's a friendly ghost. Is it the girl from your, you know how that app made put in the girl in your living room?
I don't know.
It
I don't
was
know.
like anime.
Can we interview it?
I don't.
Yeah.
Can we ask it questions? I want to know its favorite color. its
Okay.
favorite TV show.
That's what you want to ask? We touch the ethereal plane and we have the chance to interview somebody who has transcended life and has moved into a new higher dimension. And you want to ask it,
Chris,
what's their favorite TV
Chris.
show?
Chris, you got to start with small talk.
I need to know if the ghost is watching MILF Manor or not.
Yes.
You know what pisses me off about this guy? My best friend here. He's fucking right.
I mean, lots of things.
He's right. Anyway, continue.
That I am. Where was I? So, we're 3D printing with psychics before 3D printers become a thing.
Yeah.
So, our boy Duncan, who remember apparently has psychic powers because he's brain dead and living by being psychic because he went Super Saiyan. Duncan
Cannot
sits
once
in the
again
chair.
talk about everything that's wrong with that statement.
So our boy super psychic Duncan sits, time traveling Duncan sits in the chair, and Duncan could materialize whatever he thought of somewhere on the base. So so I'm going to quote Nichols again. What Duncan thought of as a subjective reality would be created as an objective reality. For example, he could think of an entire building, and that building would appear on the base.
How many people died because this dude manifested a fucking building on
Right,
top of another one?
That's what's crazy about this book. Like Nichols just mentions this stuff as kind of like, oh, by the way, he could do this, and then moves on. I'm like, what? You're just going to gloss over that this guy just made an entire building happen?
You know, if I could actually make a building appear, I would make the Hall of Justice. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
It's like, you know, it's the whole like matter cannot exist in two places at the same time. You have to place that building very, very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we're not going to talk about that. We just mentioned that as an aside.
It just killed some Montauk boys, so they didn't care about them. So.
Okay, so what is the point of this?
Mm.
The ultimate goal of this crazy psychic 3D printing chair ties back to solving a problem with what went wrong with the Philadelphia experiment. So if you remember from the Philadelphia experiment, or 30 minutes ago when we were talking about it, the crew of the Eldridge were taken outside of time, and a lot of them, if you recall, went crazy. And according to Nichols, the reason they went crazy is because they had while they're in the hyperspace bubble, they had no environment around them to rely on as a frame of reference. So they went cray-cray. This is what the chair is supposed to fix. The theory was that the person in the chair would transmit psychically an alternate reality to the crew to ensure that they remain in synchronization and don't become disoriented or lost. That's how you fix the merging into the walls problem. And the going crazy problem and all the other things problem.
It makes complete sense now.
However, they ran into a problem.
Of course they did.
What I'm going to now, thanks to Chris, call the Mario problem.
Oh, no.
If the psychic in the chair...
What?
If the psychic in the chair accidentally projected a reality not consistent with our reality, it would trigger a quote-unquote time glitch and screw everything up.
Now immediately I'm just thinking, I tried to think, look! No, it can't be. It can't. What did you do, Ray? It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes. Or your horrendous Mario. So if you had done that, you would have caused a time glitch, Chris.
Good.
So in fact, time glitches actually do occur every now and then, naturally, but we don't notice them because we are, quote unquote, referenced in our own reality.
Now, I actually do believe that because of the previous episodes where we discussed time travel, people claiming to have, for anything they've done, they have not done anything, but somehow walked into a store or went down an alley and suddenly found themselves in a past time period. That's exactly what I have categorized it as a time glitch.
Yes. So according to Nichols, deja vu is an example of a time glitch in the fabric of time. Crazy because we're grounded in our reality.
For our listeners,
hyperspace bubble.
To be clear, I do think that may be possibly true. I know we discuss a lot of things on this show, and I would imagine that some of our listeners wonder, what do we believe what we're talking about? Are we just talking about it because it's interesting? To be clear, yes, I do believe time glitches do occur, and they have happened.
I like to think of myself as an optimistic skeptic, because
I
like to think that I think that there are some crazy things that happen, but we have to be careful because maybe the real conspiracy is that there's all these conspiracy theories throwing us off, but underneath it all is some grain of truth.
As always, you and I are on the same page. I've thought that too.
I suspect that might be the case.
I've always thought there was, you think of the craziest stories out there, and I've always thought that at the very least there may be a grain of truth in there. Maybe not always to the ridiculous levels that it's relayed to, but I think to do this show properly, I think all of us have an open mind to the idea that many things are possible, despite our tone, despite how we relay the story. The point is that three of us here believe in possibilities.
Yeah.
And
but I think if you believe everything that's thrown at you, you're gonna miss whatever actually happened.
We don't reject the possibility. What we do here on the show is to try to objectively look at it, have fun, make jokes, whatever. But
honestly, I'm just drinking beer and having a fun time.
I'm drinking bourbon and I'm having a good time.
I'm here for.
But at the end of the day, I am somebody who believes in. We are people who believe in possibilities. So anyway, continue.
So let's talk about the seeing eye.
Like the third eye, or
are we talking about what's on the dollar bill? Are we going into the Masons?
No, it's not quite that cool. Sorry, it's just an experiment name.
Oh,
we should. You and I should do a future episode on the Masons.
Oh, okay. So my pet theory. Well, since you brought it up, I have a pet theory on the Masons. I think that all the conspiracy theories about the Freemasons were created by the Freemasons and are perpetuated by the Freemasons to cover up the reality that they're completely boring. So I think the conspiracy theory is itself the conspiracy. It's what I would do.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then again.
Okay, anyway, the CNI.
Why not?
So now that we can create stuff out of thin air, the first official experiment kicks off, which they entitle The Seeing Eye. Gonna quote from the book again. Per Nichols, the first experiment was called the Seeing Eye. With a lock of a person's hair or other appropriate object in his hand, Duncan could concentrate on the person and be able to see as if he was seeing through their eyes.
Ooh, I love it.
hearing through their ears, and feeling through their body. He could actually see through other people anywhere on the planet.
So like remote viewing, pretty much,
Yes.
just through a person.
Yes.
This is kind of like the movie Being John Malkovich, which James has never watched. Maybe
Yes, I
Christina
have.
hasn't either. Oh, you have?
Why are
I haven't
you
watched
assuming
it.
What I haven't watched.
You know what? I assessed this entire moment completely wrong because I was sitting there thinking Christina's probably seen it, but James has it, and it's the reverse.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about those of us who assume.
Yeah, I know. I was actually about
They
to say,
make a me out of you.
you know what? I was about to say, I love the fact that you guys, after 2 decades and a half, you still surprise me. But you know what? Never
I
mind.
still surprise me.
Okay, the seeing eye.
So the next step,
The all-seeing eye.
now that we can do the remote view thing, the next step, well, I mean, come on, guess what the next step is going to be? It's the government.
I refuse.
Mind control.
Boom. The next step was to see if they could put thoughts in another person's head.
Yeah.
So I'm a tech guy. I see this as like we have read access, now we need write access, right?
Mhm.
This is why I should never be involved in any of these projects, because as soon as we got to that stage, be like, now we can project any image into somebody's head. What should we do, Chris? There's this guy that I went to school with named Matt. 24-hour gay porn.
So Duncan would meet somebody, then concentrate on them. 99% of the time, they would get thoughts similar to Duncan's,
Oh, that's a really high percentage.
right? Duncan could push so far as to control someone so that they did whatever Duncan wanted them to do, which I like to think is just execute permission.
You're such a nerd.
This didn't work just on people, but also things.
Oh, I was thinking animals. Like you're like, no, inanimate objects.
Yes,
Okay.
they could move objects and even destroy entire rooms.
What?
Yes.
Is that not like telekinetic or something? I don't know. From a
That's what it sounds
distance?
like to me.
That's pretty cool.
By the way, you guys were kind of dancing around it earlier. You can't just go from 0 to 60 with mind control. You can't just go, I'm going to mind control somebody and then do a mind control.
Mhm.
You've got to get into a certain state of mind to do it first. You got to get prepared. Duncan had to go into an altered form of consciousness. How do you think he went into an altered form of consciousness?
LSD?
Nope.
Sex.
So special CIA NSA training that he learned diverted his mind through sexual bliss.
Oh,
His quote unquote primitive mind surfaced. I bet something surfaced.
oh my God. Ew. Ew.
This is where we need your porn voice.
I know.
Because you got to have some sexual feeling before you can do a mind
Wow,
control.
wow.
So, let's talk about time travel somehow.
Okay, we're just gonna skip. Right, we're just gonna say, okay, we're done with that now.
Let's talk
Shoot to
about
something
time
else.
travel.
Let's talk about something else now. Did they also have to get roused up?
Look, all I
Time
know
travel.
is that you cannot mind control somebody until you get sexy.
Duh.
Like, glamour magic.
I'm going
Time to do some mind
control.
Thankfully, there's no details about how they got Duncan into a state of sexual bliss.
Mm.
Whew. So time travel. So this experiment that started with the CNI and sexy mind control goes into further permutations that involve bending time.
Oh
And-
shit.
And this involves tech again, such as the aforementioned Delta T antenna that Nichols likes sticking on top of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then this Delta T antenna technology, like the technology that we referenced, like the Montauk show, all this is things to. Well, I'm sorry, I was about to mix things up irresponsibly. Whereas the chair was thanks to the Syrians. The Delta T antenna is based on technology we got from aliens from the Orion constellation. Not to be confused with the Syrians.
Yeah, you got to get it right, man.
Gotta get it right.
Do not insult them.
So once they get this Delta T antenna set up to do the time bending, they have to calibrate Duncan. Given where this has gone already, I don't want to know how they calibrated Duncan, so we're just going to move on.
I was just wondering that.
Anyway, they calibrated Duncan, however calibrating Duncan goes. And now the person, Duncan or otherwise, sitting in the chair can open space-time portals.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Mind control's the basics. Okay?
The basics.
The next step is, of course, space-time portals. Come on.
Like Psych 101. It's fine. It's
Yeah, Psych
kid
101,
stuff.
Psych 102 is time travel. So to quote Nichols from his book again, you could walk through the portal from 1980 to 1990. Which I like to think, way to think big, Nichols.
Yeah, just 10 year 1990. Just do it. There we go. Got it.
Yeah, you got to shoot for the stars there.
Not the year 3000. Let's
Right.
just do this.
Let's just go to Hammer Pants. He goes on to say, and I quote, "There was an opening you could look into. It looked like a circular corridor with a light at the other end. The time door would remain as long as Duncan would concentrate on 1990 and 1980. Which I have to wonder what would happen if another year just popped in there during that
I
period.
know. Like what happens? Because I would screw that up so easy.
Super Saiyan Duncan must have had some like amazing concentration.
Yeah, he does not have our attention deficiencies.
Okay, so from here I'm going to quote Nichols a little bit at length because you gotta hear this from the horse's mouth.
Mhm.
So quoting Nichols, initially, the portal would be opened up, but it would drift. This was because Duncan himself was drifting. He had to go through extensive training to get the portal to be stable. We also had to focus the transmitter more closely and tighten up the thought form translation to get everything right. We would spend days just trying to get a particular time change to occur as predicted. There was no particular problem with creating a time warp. Predicting what it would do was the difficulty. Finally, towards the end of 1981,
That sounds like
we
a girl I
learned-
dated in college once.
Finally, towards the end of 1981, we learned how to stabilize it so that when a portal would appear, it would remain. Although the function was not absolutely perfect, it was predictable, stable, and running according to plans. Essentially, what the scientists were doing was using 1943, 1963, 1983 vortex, which was based upon the natural 20-year biorhythms of the Earth.
Oh,
The trilogy of the trilogy of the trilogy.
wait, are we in one of
333.
these? Are we in one of these
We are.
since 2023?
Well, if I know,
There's a 3 there, so that must
But remember-
be the logical conclusion.
But remember, 1943 Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, then
That's one of the
1963,
years.
It's also
83,
every, it's also
Montauk
every
project.
2003.
So it's every 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
then this
43
is one.
Right. So 43 is Philadelphia experiment. 83 is Montauk project. What was going on in 63? I don't know.
November the
Drugs.
22nd, 1963, Kennedy was assassinated.
Holy crap. It's the JFK episode.
Oh my gosh, crossover.
Anyway, the quote
Dun, dun.
continues.
Dun, dun. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Portalobans. I'm here to kick some ass. What should it be when I come to Texas? Fuck you.
Was that while he was high?
Is that John F. Kennedy? Is he going to save us? I'm going to throw clam chowder in your goddamn face, you bastard.
1943, 1963, and 1983 acted as anchor points for the main vortex. Sub-vortices, or open-ended vortices, would be created by going from the main one through an anchor point, 1943, 1963, and 1983. At Montauk, August 12th, 1983 was used. For example, this is to clarify. For example, let's say they wanted to reach November 1981. There would be a bridge point from November of 1981 to August 12th, 1983. From August 12th, 83, they could go to whatever time they wanted. The vortex ran between August 12th, 1943 and August 12th, 1983, because that was the master vortex. It is called open-ended because there's no evidence. I'm sorry, there is no device at the other end anchoring it.
When you say any time, do you mean any time between 1943 and 1983 or any time period?
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, which I don't, but so 43, 63, 83 are their anchor points. So you have to start there. You have to, so if you're not starting there, you have to pass through there to get to an unanchor point, as in a place. So if you want to go to a future where there isn't a device in the future waiting for you to receive you, you have to pass through an anchor point where there is a device waiting for you.
This is more or less string theory.
Sure, why not?
Well, as in, okay, anchor points. Think of it like this. What's one end? 1983. The other end is 1943. And then you can go back and forth anytime between these two anchor points. That's why I was asking.
Right, but you could go past the anchor points. But to go past the anchor points, you have to go through the anchor points.
Okay, that makes sense.
Supposedly. Okay, so they started time traveling. How did they start time traveling, you might ask?
LSD again. No, sorry.
By grabbing winos off the street and shoving them through portals.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Okay. Stop with the kidnapping.
Hey, Larry, how you doing, man? I'm fine, man. I'm doing great, man. Hey, you know what? I bought you this nice bottle of vodka. Thanks, man. Hey, come on. I want to show you something really magical. That's really great. Just get a little closer there. There you go. And then just shove him.
Winos in time.
Winos in space.
So all our missing persons are really just from these crazy government experiments.
You're really drunk guys traveling. with
Yeah.
time.
Well, and kids.
Yeah, kids
just-
first.
I just
And
want-
really drunk guys.
I just think like 1066, William the Conqueror. He's like leading his army against Harold, the last Anglo-Saxon king. Suddenly a portal opens up. And then like Phil drops in. What the hell is that? Oh,
Well, remember, they really like throwing people into Bible times.
Yeah, there you go. Moses parting the Red Sea. Brings the staff down the ocean, and then just Tom.
So, just a side note, if Nichols notes that if they happen to lose power during the time travel excursion, the person would be lost in time or abandoned in the vortex itself.
Oh, for
course.
God's sake. No power surges.
Of course.
Oh my God.
So, moving on, Nichols in his book goes on to say that a later investigation found that some neo-Nazis were involved in the Montauk project. And I love how the way that
Sure.
Nichols words this. He just mentions as a side note, they were apparently still on the Aryan kick.
Oh my God. Like they were going to ever get off it.
Right. So the Nazis abducted some kids to throw through the time portals as well.
I mean, that tracks. Yeah.
No one knows what happened or if any of the kids came back. What we do know, excuse me, what we do know is that the Nazis sent every raw recruit, quote unquote, to 6037 AD, always to the
What?
same point, to what appeared to be a dead city in ruins.
What? Why?
Great question.
Question: the Montauk. This is near New York, right?
Well, yeah, this is on Long Island.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the famous New York blackouts?
Yes.
There was a New York blackout of 77, blackout of 2003. Just saying.
Uh-oh.
So to quote Nichols again, if I can't say it any better than he can with his narrative, everything was stationary. Again, we're referring to the 6037 Dead City. Everything was stationary, not unlike a dreamlike state. There were no signs of life. In the center of the city was a square with a gold horse on a pedestal.
No. Not back
There
to the
were-
horse.
There were inscriptions on that pedestal, and recruits were sent there to read what they said. Each recruit would interpret and report.
What did it say?
That's all I know. That's all Nichols tells us.
Oh
Um,
my God.
He's threw kids through portals to 6037 to try to read what the gold horse said, and they came back and reported, and God knows what happened from there.
Way to leave us hanging.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nichols.
You
So if you
dick.
recall from our World Ended in 2012 episode, it was slightly different. The narrative was the Montauk Project couldn't send anybody any further in time than 2012 because when they did, all they would find is a giant horse.
Right.
So I guess that was a loose way of referencing the 6037 Dead City giant horse that the Nazis were throwing everybody to.
Right.
Don't ask me how neo-Nazis got access to the Montauk Project. Nichols doesn't again, this is Nichols. The guy doesn't like he just likes to bring things up.
Well, we brought a bunch of Nazi scientists over after World War One
Right,
or World War
right.
II, so maybe one of them, who knows? They're government-funded Nazis.
So let me throw in some side notes that didn't really fit anywhere else into this narrative, but still worth noting. The Montauk Project directors knew we already had a colony on Mars where we had found old technology.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
We just knew it. They already know it.
Yeah, Earth has a colony on Mars. It's been there for a while now.
Sure.
They knew that somebody built the face and pyramids on Mars, and they actually found a way to walk from Montauk to Mars.
Oh,
Walk.
Remember, they're
now I'm
referring to
interested.
Mars and biblical times, right? So
Mhm.
Walk.
They're a portal, I presume.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you would presume correctly, because otherwise that would be a long walk. Plus, there's no oxygen.
All right. Let's talk about how this crazy, crazy story ended. So in the early 80s, they finally go too far in their experiments.
They found a
they-
limit.
now
huh?
they've gone too far. Chucking winos and children. But here's where the line gets crossed, guys.
This is the bridge too far, folks. August 5th, 1983. They, the project folks, are given the order to run the transmitter non-stop. Just turn it on and let it go continuously.
Just
days
turn
later-
on that portal to God knows where. Go get yourself some lunch. I don't know. Catch a flick. You know, I've heard War Games is a great film. There's an arcade down there on 9th Street. And then just come back and see whatever the hell's happened.
That's what you do. So a few days later, August 12th, the equipment drops into sync with, quote unquote, something else.
Oh.
That's generic.
This is when the USS Eldridge appears through the portal. This is when
Wait, the whole
Duncan and Edward Cameron come through the portal.
Oh.
the whole ship comes through
No,
the
no, no, no,
portal?
no. They open the portal, they see the Eldridge on the other side of the portal, which is in its hyperspace bubble, if you remember from the Philadelphia experiment side of that story.
Okay. Sorry, when you said that,
And-
I just immediately thought some guys, you know, underground in a tunnel, like, hey, let's see what happens, guys. Hit it, Paul. And then just a gigantic shit, like, holy shit, turn it off.
No, the ship doesn't come through, but the two sailors do. So Duncan and Edward come through. Excuse me. And oh, by the way, don't ask me the logic to this. The Montauk folks are careful to keep the Duncan coming from the Eldridge through the portal to Montauk from seeing his 1983 self who's already there.
Oh my God, this is giving me a headache. Also, so
I was
both
about
the
to say the
brothers
same
came
thing.
through?
Apparently.
Okay, so then the other one just like phased out to go to
Remember
the
what I said
future?
about continuity, because didn't Edward have a future time traveling?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, did he
Time
just
travel.
phase
Time
out?
travel doesn't have to make sense. Timey-wimey. Anyway, they have to keep Duncan from meeting himself
Okay.
because
course.
83 Duncan is already there, but as 43 Duncan arrives for the first time. Don't ask me how. It's
Okay.
time travel. We're too primitive to understand these great machinations.
I
I'm
know
really
I
having a
am.
lot of self-evaluation of the fact that I'm actually understanding how this is possible.
All right. So Nichols, excuse me, Nichols, Duncan, and the others at this point have had enough. This is a bridge too far. They turn on the project. And I'm going to quote Nichols again, speaking firsthand. We finally decided we'd had enough of the whole experiment. The contingency program was activated by someone approaching Duncan while he was in the chair and simply whispering, "The time is now." At this moment, he let loose a monster from his subconscious.
Of course he did.
And the transmitter actually portrayed a hairy monster. It was big, hairy, hungry, and nasty. But it didn't appear underground in the null point. It showed up somewhere on the base. It would eat anything it could find, and it smashed everything in sight. Several different people saw it, but almost everyone described a different beast.
Oh, so it's like based on the person viewing it, like their fear.
Sounds it.
So did it smash or did it smash?
Okay.
Mind control? We're not doing any mind control, so Duncan isn't in that state of mind, I presume.
And I apologize.
else it
I'm
was.
I'm just thinking a guy from 1943 put in a chair where he can cyclically create everything, and they describe it as a giant hairy monster. I just see Lon Chaney's Wolfman coming out and eating and banging everybody in sight. Oh my God! It's a giant Lon Chaney werewolf. Oh my God! It's
Oh, we shouldn't bring these in during this season.
I mean,
So-
there's worse ways to go.
Are there? But anyway, so they have a problem now. So they
Yeah,
shut
they've
off
got
the
a giant Lon Chaney Wolfman running around having sex and eating people.
Chris.
So they shut off the generators to no effect. They even
Ruh-roh.
considered
I would have thought.
sending someone through to the Eldridge side. Try saying that 3 times fast to shut its transmitters down. They ultimately had to destroy their own equipment in order for the beast to stop moving and vanish, and for the portal to close. And by smash, I meant destroy.
Well, yeah. What else would you mean?
At that point, the project was shut down. And this is when the underground levels were filled with cement and everyone's minds were wiped. Everyone involved with the project.
Okay.
And that's the end of the Montauk project. So let's talk about
Dot. Or is it?
So let's talk about today. Or today-ish, at least today in terms of when the book was written. So today, as in today, 2023, the Camp Hero actually does still exist. It's just not a military facility. It was donated to New York State as a park. Hey, listeners, donate us enough money, we could totally go do a show there.
Yeah,
Hey
field
guys,
trip.
welcome to Montauk Park. We've got a swing set. We've got a really good circular slide. And oh Lord, is that Lon Chaney's Wolfman? Don't get too close, kids.
I honestly want to do a live show there so freaking bad.
Yeah,
I
would love that.
The Sage radar is actually still there too, as far as I know, because it's a landmark at this point. So the Air Force didn't want to demolish it, given its prominence, after they shut everything down in '84. So for what it's worth, the military claims no such project ever happened.
Oh, of course, may we?
So so this is interesting. Paul Monte, who was, I don't know if still is, but was president of the local chamber of commerce there in the area. To quote him, "No doubt stories have been embellished, but I don't doubt that things went on there in the Cold War years. Even today, the base is patrolled and watched. They obviously don't want people in there even now."
Wow.
So Nichols, and again, this is the time that his book was published in the 80s or whatever. Nichols, to quote him, "There are also other dangers to consider. 2 people I know who participated in the Montauk project visited the area in the late 80s. They claimed they were abducted and do not totally remember what happened to them."
Oh shit.
So they went
Another
there like
person-
literally just a few years after all this shit went down.
Right.
I mean, what did they expect? Like, I don't know. Sorry.
Another person has reported in August of 1991, so I stand corrected, I guess the book was published in the 90s, reported in 91 that video cameras can now be seen from the top of the transmitter building. This is a new development and is rather odd considering it is a vacant derelict facility. There are also reports that the underground areas of the base are being reopened. This is speculative, but should serve to warn anyone making travel plans to Montauk. So again, that was the 90s. Lots happened since then. I don't know the current state of that of Camp Harrow, other than it still exists and it's part of a state park now. So
Wow.
Okay.
So we're gonna go and we're gonna be abducted, and
I mean,
our memories wiped, and then we'll be part of the saga that is the Montauk Project.
I hope
Yes.
not.
So I won't dwell on this detail, but it needs to be mentioned because this did actually happen. Among everything else that is questionable, this is not. This is where the trigger warning comes in. So the thing about Nichols is he ended up sexually abusing a lot of the so-called Montauk boys, because without going into detail, he would offer to deprogram them, help them retain their memories and all that kind of jazz. And if you remember how we activated Duncan, deprogramming was a thing.
Oh God.
So
Well,
on that note,
Screw that guy.
Did he go to prison?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Is he still alive?
I also don't know. I should have checked. He probably is. Given that, he was published in the 90s. But anywho, worth noting, since we're mentioning some sexual abuse, because this is an American story, of course it is.
Yeah.
If you or anyone you know has been sexually abused, a hotline to call is 1-800-799-7233. Okay, so let's move the hell away from that. In closing, let's talk about briefly Christopher Garetano. Garetano is a filmmaker, and he created the documentary entitled The Montauk Chronicles, and which covers the project history. So in closing, I'm going to quote Garetano: "The more I researched, the more I've begun to believe it is not so ludicrous. We know there was military interest in paranormal phenomena. Project Stargate, which began in 1978 and was later declassified, looked at whether psychics could perform remote viewing and see events from great distances. MK Ultra used vulnerable people like prisoners. So why is it so far-fetched that orphans or runaway boys would be targeted? They seem exactly the sort of subjects who would be easy to take. And Montauk would be the ideal facility. In the winter, it is like a ghost town." And that is the Montauk Project, folks.
And that was called Montauk Chronicles.
The Montauk Chronicles by filmmaker Christopher Garetano.
Preston Nichols.
Yes.
He died in 2018.
2018. Okay.
Good. Wow. So that's it. That's the end, huh? For now.
So I guess what I
Yeah.
don't understand is so we claim this as more of a conspiracy. So how did they prove? I don't know. It's just how do they prove the boys were abducted? That all that stuff did happen. Because
Unfortunately,
it's if they proved that, then that project really was something was going on.
I don't think they're able to
okay,
prove
wait.
it.
Hold on. So the Montauk. Okay, so what we don't know, what we don't have, verifiable evidence of, is if the Montauk Project happened, if the Montauk Project kidnapped boys and did stuff with them. That we don't know. What we do know, which I wanted to kind of skip over as quickly as possible, is that no, it's fine. Is that Nichols, who said all those things happened, then went on to work, I say with heavy quotation marks, with supposed Montauk boys to help them unlock their memories via sexual abuse ways.
Okay, so way after, it would have been after the fact. So that's why the project still is in question, but he is definitely a criminal sexual predator. Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
I was trying to figure out how that worked, because I feel like if you knew one, then you knew the project was a thing, but okay.
Fortunately, from what I can find, he is deceased. He's been dead
Okay.
for 5 years.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, that concludes episode 20, our season finale.
Yep.
Unless you had anything else to add.
Congratulations, us.
I apologize. I didn't know if that was the end or if there's more or
You want more?
no. But I also want to be always polite to you and not prematurely end your story. I didn't know if that's so. That concludes episode 20, which is our season finale. And
wait. You
oh
missed
no.
something.
Oh, what?
So we mentioned, because remember, everything ties together, man.
Oh,
We
yeah.
mentioned the Syrians. We mentioned the aliens from the Orion cluster.
You know what you didn't
So
mention?
if there are all these different aliens out there interacting with Earth, and there are wavelengths, which you can also refer to as vibrations.
I know where this is going.
It just goes to show that there's got to be somebody overseeing all this space stuff. Hail Ashtar.
Hail Ashtar. I would like to thank all of our listeners. Because of you, we were able to continue to do this. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your support. Thank you for just taking the time to listen, to tune in and listening to our podcast. This has been more enjoyable than I can express through words. And
I also like to thank Ashtar, because I think he's been the unsung hero of this podcast.
hail Ashtar, and thank you, Ashtar. If you're listening, Ashtar, and would like to be a guest in next season, one of our next season's episodes, please email us at littlepodcasthorrors, right? At gmail.com.
We know our email address. Shut up.
We say this every time.
Also, we have a website, littlepodcastofhorrors.com, and we now have a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Can you guess?
Okay, guess what it's named?
Little
Strawberry
Petey Pie?
Patty Cupcakes.
That's great. And maybe next time, but no, it is Little Podcast of Horrors. We're in the process of uploading all our season 1 episodes onto YouTube. But as always, if you would like to go back and re-listen or listen for the first time, you can find us on YouTube and anywhere that podcasts are broadcast. We are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcast, and we are on Amazon Music. We will be taking a 3-week sabbatical or a 3-week break.
Did we say an official date? I
We
was
didn't.
gonna.
So we didn't. That's just Chris being hopeful. So here's the thing. This is the season finale. Season 2 is coming. We're not ready to tell you when yet. It's not going to be a long time. So just hold on. It's not going to be 2024. It's going to be this year. It's going to be in the near future. So just hang tight. We're coming. We're coming.
We do have a Facebook page, so we'll make an announcement with an official date on our Facebook page. I think that will be.
We're in the process
helpful.
of creating even better content for next season.
And we're not going to give you enough time to forget about us.
No. We're going to be like that pesky ex-girlfriend. You're not going to forget about us. We're coming back. My co-hosts are looking at me like,
Don't get us aroused, because we might mind control you.
giggity,
Oh
giggity,
my
goo.
god.
I'm going to cut that from the episode because that was just creepy.
We're getting real creepy. All right, cool. Well,
But either way, thank you guys. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in. We've enjoyed this every step of the way, and we are so looking forward to what's to come in the future. So stay tuned. And
I'm
with
looking forward to your money.
we're also looking forward to more money. Please, if you feel free to contribute, donate to the cause. And with that, hail Ashtar.
Hail Ashtar.
Hail Ashtar.
There she goes. She came around. Alrighty, guys. Until we meet again,
We love you.
we love you.
Love you,
guys.
mean it.
Yeah. And see you soon.
Are they gone? Good. But don't worry, they'll be back before you know it, with more tales to frighten you, to thrill you, and to make you shiver. See you soon.